another episode of Michaela Up Close, a podcast where I overshare about my personal life and have unfiltered chats with comedians and friends about all kinds of juicy topics. I am Michaela Chung. I'm an author, comedian, and single lady, and today I am talking about some very personal and some controversial topics, including the Christabelle allegations and creepy men in general. But first, I just have to say that I have a problem. And that is that I somehow convinced myself that it was a good idea to date men way younger than me. I'm talking like 22, 23. Those seem to be the magic numbers. And I'm in my 30s, so it's quite an age difference. And I should say that it's not like I am always seeking out these guys. I mean, sometimes younger guys will approach me in real life because they think I'm their age. And, you know, they'll start a conversation like, so you just got out of class? Or what are you studying? Like they assume I'm a student like them. And I mean, it might be because I hang out at the university pub every day, but no, I don't. That would be creepy, right? But I did date a younger guy right before lockdown who went to the university here in Ottawa. And we walked by the university pub on one of our dates. And it was the middle of winter, negative 12 degrees. And every girl I could see, which was a lot of girls, was wearing a tank top, like a skimpy little tank top in the middle of winter. What the hell? Part of me was like, that's dumb. But then another part of me was like, that's really dumb. I'm so glad I'm not in my 20s anymore because you do stupid things in your 20s. But I do like it when younger men assume I'm their age. Obviously, it's nice when people think you're younger. But let's face it, their skills of perception aren't fully developed. I mean, a guy my own age, when he meets me, he's going to be like, I sense some cobwebs in that cervix. And then he's going to go maybe for a younger girl. I mean, a lot of these guys who go for younger girls are into the whole pure virgin thing. And of course, I am way past that. I mean, my hymen is just a myth at this point. It's just a myth of an ancient relic. I should say, when I'm looking to date a younger guy, or when he's looking to date me, I'm not trying to steal his innocence. I mean, I am looking for some kind of connection. And one thing is he has to be smart. I can't date a bro, no matter what he looks like or how young and hot he is. Because the thing is, I can't pretend to be cool anymore. I can't do it. If a guy messages me late at night and he's like, what are you doing right now? I'm honest. I'm like, I'm watching a documentary about the Dead Sea Scrolls, which is actually fascinating because did you know that they found hidden text in one of the Dead Sea Scroll fragments? Yeah, they found these almost invisible letters that appeared right next to this tiny, long forgotten speck of my hymen. I recently, just a couple days ago, actually matched with a 22-year-old on Bumble. And yes, it's my fault because I still had the age range set to that young, like 22 to 39 was my age range. I've since raised it. But this younger guy, he was very enthusiastic about pursuing me and sending thoughtful messages and asking me lots of questions. And I kind of got suspicious. I'm like, why is this younger guy so intent on pursuing me because in real life it's different because they actually think I'm their age, but sometimes they think I'm their age. But on the apps, like my age is right there for them to see. I mean, it's the first thing they see besides my picture. So I'm like, why is he pursuing me so hard? Like, is it because he has a thing for women in their 30s? Is that his thing that turns him on? Like, does he get turned on by women who make him use coasters? Is that his kink? In bed, is he like, oh, matching utensils. Oh. Yeah, one thing we can connect on, me and younger men, is our immature sense of humor. That's one thing. Short shorts. Short shorts for men are in now. And I found this Guardian article about it titled, "He wears short shorts, why are men showing more leg?" And in the article, Andrew Groves, who is a professor of fashion at the University of Westminster, says, "It feels radical to see men playing with these proportions. Suddenly, short shorts seem highly inappropriate, almost shocking to see. The shock is," he explains, "the presentation of the male leg in a highly sexualized and eroticized manner." Oh my gosh, it's so funny. Okay, I would never describe the male leg as sexual and erotic. I see a guy in short shorts and I don't get aroused. I laugh. I'm like, did you see that guy? His thighs are showing. So ridiculous. Oh, and I can see that girl's entire butt. I wonder where she got those shorts. Those are cute. Yeah, so there's a difference there. But the article goes on to say that menswear has been embracing a certain brand of sexual empowerment, celebrating a super sexualized Adonis, as men are relating to their own bodies again as a tool of seduction. I'm sorry, but it's not a tool of seduction. I mean, not for women anyways. They're making it sound like men who wear short shorts are these sexual revolutionists. No, it's comedy. I mean, for the last 2 decades, men have worn short shorts mainly as a joke. I mean, have you ever seen the movie Dodgeball and thought, "Oh, I can't handle all this sexiness"? No, you think it's hilarious. I mean, it can't be a joke and then suddenly be sexy. But I was thinking about this and I was thinking, well, maybe it's wrong for me to think that way. Maybe I should empower men by objectifying them more. I'm going to write that down, actually. I'm going to put that on my to-do list. Objectify a man today. I once saw a hot male comedian on stage. Just once. And he had a nice body. He was dressed well. And I wanted to objectify him so hard. Because, I mean, let's face it, male comedians aren't known for being hot. There's no calendar for shirtless comedians. And this guy, not only was he hot, but he was really, really funny. But still, even though he was so funny, I was more fascinated that he was actually good looking. I mean, now I understand why interviewers always ask Hollywood Oscar-winning actresses about their outfits and their diets. Because I almost felt like yelling, "Who are you wearing? What's your fitness plan?" I want to talk for a second about the Christabelle allegations. For those of you who don't know, Christabelle is a quite famous comedian who recently was accused by several young women on Twitter of grooming underage women, 16, 17, and also soliciting nudes. And some of the allegations that came out, or the stories that came out on Twitter, were from women who were of age, who were like 20, 21, but he was just behaving very inappropriately and really just kind of treating them like objects that were there to serve him, And I don't know if he's going to face any charges. At this point, it's not clear whether he did anything illegal. He released a statement saying, "I never knowingly pursued any underage women at any point." So maybe he didn't do anything that was technically illegal, but he definitely acted in a way that was very inappropriate, and let's face it, he was just a jerk. And I really like the way Whitney Cummings phrased it, because a lot of people wanted to hear her opinion because she's a good friend, or she was a good friend of Chris's. And she said, this is a pattern of predatory behavior. Girls should be able to be a fan of a comedian they admire without becoming a sexual target. It's the adult's responsibility to be an adult. And I think adults need to be adults even when they're with other adults. Even when these girls were of age, you still need to know how to be respectful and appropriate and treat people like human beings rather than just disposable objects. However, I will say, and this might be, some people might think this is controversial, but I know a lot of women feel this way. A lot of women, when we see these kinds of allegations coming out, especially in recent years, a lot of women are like, I didn't know that was wrong. I mean, especially when it's kind of in the gray area, it's like, oh, that's wrong. That's happened to me a lot. That's like, every dating experience for some women. And a lot of women think, well, I've experienced worse. And it's really crazy when you hear from older women who, older women are like, honey, I grew up in the 70s. All men were creepy. Predators didn't get canceled. They set fashion trends, sideburns, mustache, aviator sunglasses. I mean, it wasn't a big deal. And you're like, yeah, Linda, I think it was a big deal. But who am I to tell a woman how to feel about her own experiences with men? Because maybe her brushing things off as no big deal is just her way of coping. And she hasn't yet come to terms with what's happened. So I know for me, with my own experiences with creepy men, or more than creepy, I have just brushed them off. Like I did have a childhood experience with a predator. And I'll just say in a nutshell, I was groomed by a pedophile as a kid. And I guess I'll give a trigger warning here. I'm going to share a story that he didn't touch me. I feel it's important to say that right off the bat. But yeah, it's something that I haven't really brought up that much. I think I've only shared it with a couple of people because, it's just not something you bring up in regular conversation. I mean, it's kind of a buzzkill at a party. Someone's like, I went to Disney World as a kid. And you're like, I went to a pedophile's house. It doesn't go over well. I mean, before I go on and you judge my mom, or you think, where were your parents? Because people always like to, shame parents. But my mom was a single mom in the 80s, early 90s. This was before overprotective millennial parents who buy like ethical, organic eggs from Whole Foods. I mean, the only thing that was free range back then was children. We ran wild in the streets and it was awesome. It was awesome. I loved my childhood. But there was no playing safe. Didn't exist because our playgrounds were made of rotting wood and rusty metal. I mean, some of you might remember there was that metal hexagon of doom that we used to play on. It looked like the Thunderdome from Mad Max. Back then it was weird if you didn't come home with splinters and tetanus. And no, not tetanus, because back then people actually vaccinated their kids, even in California. But I also used to play with my friends in parking lot snowbanks, which looking back, that was kind of dangerous. And my mom would just yell from the house, just watch out for snowplows. No, I'm kidding. She didn't know where I was. So the point is, it was fun to be so free. It was really fun, but I did get groomed by a pedophile. And that was because it was my mom's boyfriend's business partner. This man who was in his mid-30s, rather rotund and bearded, just to give you a mental picture. And I mean, he did the usual. He bought me presents, gave me a lot of compliments, took me places. And, he was very unoriginal in that way. I don't really remember much about our outings, but the one thing that stands out in my memory is this one time I was at his house in his bedroom for some reason, and he offered me a cigarette. And at that point, I should have said already, I was 8 years old, or no, I must have been 7. I was 7 years old, and he offered me a cigarette. And at that point, I was so brainwashed by those anti-smoking PSAs on TV that if a kid had offered me a cigarette, I would have been like, smoking's for losers, and ran away. But it was an adult, so I was like, oh, well, okay. And I took a couple of puffs, and I just really remember the way he looked at me. He looked at me in that, objectifying, predatory kind of way. And that's all I really remember. And I don't think he ever touched me. He didn't ever touch me. But the way it ended was that on my birthday, which is right by Christmas, he had left with my mom a gift for me under the tree. And when I opened it, it was these tiny diamond earrings, real diamond earrings. And when my mom saw that, the alarm bells went off. And I remember she was saying to her partner again and again, like, he got her diamond earrings? She's 8 years old. What's wrong with him? He got her diamonds? Oh my God. Like, you are never seeing him again, Michaela. And I remember feeling so relieved when she said that. And also kind of embarrassed. I think because I kind of knew there was something off. I mean, I knew there was something off. But as a kid, I don't know, somehow you were embarrassed about it. And years later, we found out that he was most definitely a pedophile because my mom had heard from his ex-girlfriend that he had confessed to her that he had romantic feelings for children. And so that is my story. And I've always brushed it off as no big deal. And even when I have my energy healing sessions with my energy healer, and we do EFT tapping, we tap away my childhood traumas and my issues with men, I never once thought to bring that up. No, like I just never thought of it as a big deal. But yes, just to clarify, the whole point of me saying all this is that women should be able to feel however they feel about their experiences and express them and tell their stories in the way that they want to tell them. Just like I'm telling my story in the way I want to tell it. Earlier this week, I chatted with my friend, comedian Christabelle Witt. I know her from the comedy scene here in Ottawa, and we talked a little bit more about objectifying men, weird social distancing dates, dating younger men, and why Christabelle and I could never date if I was a dude. So here's that chat. Hey Christabelle, how are you doing?
I'm good, thanks. How are you holding up?
Yeah, I'm doing pretty well. But I've been dating again, and I know you've been dating too, and that you had kind of a weird experience with a pomegranate. So
yeah. Oh yes, I will never forget this pomegranate story. So obviously I'm still doing distance walks with people as I'm meeting them, and it is possible to stay safe during the pandemic and still do distance dating. However, obviously, because it is a lot of parks and picnics, I asked this guy if he could bring a snack or something like chips, thinking, we would both just have a drink and a snack in a park. However, he brought me an entire pomegranate.
And that was it?
Yeah, that was it. Nothing else. Which, I mean, I'm not expecting a ton, but it was just interesting because it's obviously, I've never eaten a pomegranate actually, and it's not a very publicly consumable
No.
object.
It's like the least friendly like picnic fruit there is. It's the most complicated. That's so
Yeah.
funny. That's a good test of a man. Like, see what he brings to a picnic. Honestly, because I've had something similar where I had a picnic with a guy and it was only like a second date, and he brought something weird too. I think from something he just like grabbed from the store, but it was pre-made and it was nothing I could eat. But mind you, I'm vegan and gluten free, so actually I guess
Right.
I'm the villain in this story.
Right, that's so true. I forgot about that. But yes, the other dating faux pas I'm running into is men showing up late, and you're just sitting there in the park waiting for them, and all sorts of awkward things have been happening.
During lockdown, they're showing up
Yes,
late.
exactly.
Oh, like where do they have to be? Why are they have no excuse for showing up late.
Exactly, for sure. And they often pick locations convenient for them and that are close to their places. So, like within walking distance, so they don't even really have a commute or traffic right now.
Oh no. You know what? Let's be real though here. Do you think maybe you gotta like streamline your filtering process? Because I think maybe like these aren't the right guys for you.
Yes, I am working on doing a better job with filtering, actually. I am finding that the other thing that men kind of hide on their profiles is that they have, for example, 3 children. So I've ran into that before where it says they have no kids, and then I get one date in and discover that there is 3 children that they can't see during the pandemic because they're still actively working construction and things like this.
That is a big secret.
Yes,
That's
exactly.
Oh my goodness. Have you ever, okay, you might have heard me talk about this a bit. I've dated some younger men. Have you dated younger men? Like what's the youngest you would go?
I think so. I'm 31, and the youngest I would go is about 28, and that has actually been pushing it. I've had a couple of like tough lessons there where that's maybe not going to work out.
What? Why? What was wrong?
I would say it's kind of maturity, and they still live at home with their moms, actually, which is another thing I haven't filtered out. I find it's super awkward to start a conversation with somebody and just be like, "Hey, do you have a vehicle and or still live with your mom?" Those are like my two deal breakers. But
You're right. And that's a difficult thing to bring out without sounding like a jerk
mhm,
because I don't know. Sometimes people ask me, like, or maybe it's only happened a couple times, like, do you own your own house or condo? And I'm like,
mhm.
whoa.
Wow, very
Yeah.
forward.
Yeah. Like, you just kind of feel like, oh, are they judging me so much on this? So,
Mhm.
yeah, that's a tough one. Maybe if you came up with some sly questions where it wasn't so direct, like, oh, so do you live with anyone?
Yes, exactly. I've noticed some guys do this to me where they say, "Hey, do you have any roommates?" And that's their way of kind of like filtering what kind of situation I'm living in, you know?
Ah.
And then they've also asked, "What do you drive?" to see if I have a vehicle. So there is some sly ways that are less jerk sounding, which is a good approach, I think.
That's interesting. I've never had someone ask me, what do I drive? Maybe like if we were planning a date, they would ask if
Mhm.
I drive. Yeah, which I don't. So
Yes, right.
I'm
I've
sounding like a real winner. Good thing I'm not a man because let's face it, these are things that would be deal breakers for women. Like I don't own my own condo or house. I don't drive like that. A lot of women, and I'm only 5'5".
Oh geez. Well, so that's the thing is like it's not really they don't need to have, their own place or a vehicle if they have goals. So that's the other thing is like some guys I've met, they have roommates, but their goal is to like go down south every winter or, buy property down south and they're saving and they're still chasing goals. So it almost depends on is the person motivated in life, which obviously takes more of an in-person conversation to know.
Yeah, that's a good attitude. I think that's a very healthy attitude. Let's talk about objectifying men. That's a more fun topic. Forget about objectifying women. Let's talk about men. So I read that short shorts for men are really in style now.
Oh,
What would you?
really?
Yeah. Well,
Oh my
just as of the
goodness.
last like month during
Okay,
lockdown.
good to know.
Like, what do you think of men in short shorts?
Hmm. I guess it depends on their body type. I think I'm open to it. It also kind of depends on their age.
Well, what age is best for short shorts?
I would say 20s, 30s, and then late 40s is bridging on the line of maybe too far.
Yeah, I think late 40s, I would be like, is it a joke? If it's a joke, like, are you doing a dodgeball impression, you know?
Yes, exactly.
But I think Harry Styles brought that into fashion.
Oh man. I have not heard about this yet. That's hilarious. But I know in Europe, like Speedos are still a big thing. And I think in North America, we're not as open to it in general.
That's true. That's true. Maybe we're the closed-minded ones, you
Hmm.
know? Like, we should let men be more open with their sexuality. So, have you ever had an experience where you go to see a show and the headliner or one of the openers is like super hot male, like a super hot male comedian? Like, so much so that you've been taken aback, like, whoa, there's like a hot comedian on stage.
Hmm. I don't, not that I can think of. I think that I can always tell when I'm just infatuated that a person is owning their story on a stage versus it being a physical attraction, to be honest.
Okay. Well, what if you did see a comedian who was like a really funny comedian and he just happened to have like a really nice body, like just a hot comedian?
Yeah,
What, what
I
would you
think
think?
Hmm. I think I would be all over that because I'm so single. Most of my act is about how single I am. And I would for sure be like, obviously, a host is doing their job and they're busy. But after the show, I would be kind of chasing that, like flirting, drinks, chatting, and I'm like pretty forward, actually.
Oh, so you
Yeah,
would like go and flirt with them afterwards.
totally. If they were single.
Oh, okay. I like that. That's bold.
For sure. Yeah, I wouldn't go for a married man. That would just be complicated. But
Right. Right. No, not if they were married. But do you know who Matt Carter is?
yes, I do actually.
Okay, because people always comment on how good looking he is. Like I saw it was like a Zoom interview that someone did with him not too long ago, and like the first thing they brought up is like you're actually good looking, as
Right.
opposed to most comedians, because it's so rare for a male comedian to be hot. Let's face it, in a lineup of guys with like pot bellies and they just like don't care about their looks. They look like they haven't showered. I mean, that's not always, but you know what
But
I'm talking
most
about.
likely haven't showered. Yes, I did actually listen into that Zoom chat with Matt Carter.
Oh, so you know what I'm talking about. It was
Yes.
Andrew Wambold,
Yes.
our friends here in the Ottawa comedy scene, and I'm glad you asked that question because as women, people do comment on the way we look sometimes before going on stage. Like, have you ever had that happen?
Um, kind of, yeah. Or I've had people kind of almost catcall me during my set, which is obviously because of my looks and like the nature of what I'm saying.
Hmm.
But nothing directly beforehand, I don't.
What did they say when they catcalled you?
Well, it was actually a competition, and then it's like as I'm saying some sexual joke, they're just like, "Oh, you got my vote," and they're obviously there to see their own friends because it was people I didn't know, and it was just like a pervy kind of a
Hmm.
predatory look on their face. I was like, "Oh boy, here we go."
Oh, geez. That's tough
um,
because when you're talking about sexual stuff,
yeah.
and it's not meant to elicit that, but they think it is.
Hmm.
Yeah, I had the first time I did stand up, at an open mic in Las Vegas. I got one line in. I was like, so I have a Chinese dad. And then some dude yells out, shorts.
Oh God.
Because I was wearing shorts. They weren't that short, but like I didn't know you're actually not supposed to wear shorts when you do stand up because
Right.
just because of that, like you stand out. Yes. So I think that happens a lot. And sometimes, like, I think I've had someone introduce me as like, she's funny and she's beautiful or something. I'm like,
Right.
that's nice, but maybe not the right time to say that.
Yeah, it makes it so awkward when you get on the stage. Like, I don't respond well to things like that.
Yeah, like ready for a pretty lady to come on stage.
Yeah, you're like, woo.
It's not a fashion show. I'm not a stripper, but thanks.
Yeah, exactly.
Any other kind of like dating stuff that's stuck out during lockdown?
There's been some other more extreme ones of like guys that just want me to drive to like Petawawa to see them and stuff, and I'm like, oh, my safety, and I've never met you, and just using your common sense, all these dating apps. Yeah, nothing really standing out right now.
Like a guy in the military?
Yeah.
Oh, interesting, because I have a friend who had that happen.
Oh my God, I'm sure it's the same guy.
Oh my goodness.
Oh God.
Well, I mean, I don't want to say too much, but he was okay, she said. Ended up being okay.
Oh, that's good. Success
But
story.
well, I think she had a bit of a screening process.
Yes, of course.
But you know, the thing is that his place is really messy.
Oh no, is that a deal breaker for you?
Yes, it is. What about you? Like, have you ever had that happen where you get to a guy's place and you're disgusted?
I haven't experienced that, but if I did, it would for sure be a deal breaker. It's dirtiness or hoarding. Hoarding scares me, like it could overwhelm me, actually.
Oh yeah. Hoarding should definitely be a deal breaker.
Hoarding or like cluttery stuff, where you're just like, oh my gosh, you're collecting all the things in your living room or something.
Yeah. Well, then it's deep psychological stuff.
Yes.
So you have to go to therapy for that.
Yep, that's so true.
So what are your deal breakers then?
I would say because I don't live in a very accessible, like busing accessible location, the car situation, it can be a deal breaker for me. And I've had situations where like I end up driving the guy all around everywhere, but it feels like a little adopted son or something.
I can totally picture that. You know what?
Yeah.
That's why you shouldn't date younger men, because
Exactly.
I don't know you that well just from stand up, but I can picture you being so nice.
I am really nice. And this guy was older than me, and he just like, I'm just driving him around. I was like, oh my God. And then I broke things off, and like, he demanded an explanation and all that. Like, I owed him an explanation. It was wild.
Oh, did you tell him?
I didn't tell him because guys, I've learned, don't handle the truth well. Like, a lot of them demand it, but then when you tell it to them, you end up getting like verbally abused or like text message abuse. Like, I still feel like there is digital abuse from people.
Oh, that's so true. They ask for they can never handle it. Like the only thing you can say is I just didn't feel a romantic connection.
Yeah.
All.
Exactly.
So if I were a guy, we couldn't date.
But I would drive you around for a month or so before I let you go.
Oh my goodness. That sounds about right. Because actually my ex-boyfriend drove me around everywhere.
Oh, but that's like a little bit different, right? Because like as a woman, I kind of crave somebody who can take care of me or handle whatever. And then like when you feel like the masculine part of the relationship, then it's weird.
That's true. I've never heard any of my girlfriends say like, I love being the masculine leader in the relationship. Like maybe they like cooking for their man. Like doing things, but certain things you don't want to do. Like you don't want to clean his house and you don't want to drive him around. And which apps have you been using?
So I use Facebook dating recently. Yeah, what else? I tried Tinder for a bit. I didn't like it as much. Another funny story is like this guy within 3 sentences of meeting me on Tinder was just like, oh, I was like, oh, so what are you looking for on here? And he's like, oh, just somebody to deep throat me after a small walk in the park. In the middle of a pandemic, I was like, you're wild.
That's terrible. Oh my gosh.
Men on Tinder, exactly what I expected, but I know that some people have some great success stories.
I actually, you're not going to believe this, but I just learned today what an eggplant emoji means.
Oh no, you didn't know this entire time, Michaela.
I was like saving it because I hear it referenced all the time. And I was like, I got to find out what that means. But then I never did. And I was like building it up to be this huge thing. And it's not. I thought it was going to be something kinkier and dirtier.
Yeah, I guess. I think it could be something kinkier.
Yeah, but it's not. I'm not going to say what it is, but because people don't know, I'm going to give you the joy of Googling it.
Yes, exactly.
All right. Well, it's super fun talking to you.
Yeah, great to hear from you too. I'll talk to you soon.
Talk to you soon. Bye.
Okay, bye.
That concludes this episode of Michaela Up Close. If you liked it, hey, why don't you text your friend this episode? Share it with one person by text message. I learned that from a podcast class. They said I should ask people to do that. But hey, I think it's a good idea for real. It'll really spread the message and help this podcast grow. Also, subscribe on iTunes. Thanks for listening, and I'll catch you in the next episode.